Ghostbusters!
Why is that a thing? Yeah, okay, well, that makes it totally worthwhile. Hello and welcome to All Comics Considered, the comic book podcast that calls to check what condition your condition is in. I'm Marty, and I'm ready to kick 2017 square in the balls.
2017 hasn't even done anything yet. What? Why are you mad at 2017? Get mad at 2016.
I'm mad at 2017. It knows why. It knows why.
I'm Megan, and my prepaid legal team advised me not to mention burning down Walmart on the show, but I'm a guest here, so let it burn, motherfuckers. Fuck you, Marty. I guess I can say this because it's not the Dorkadia podcast, and I won't get sued for it, so that's all on you, Marty.
That's fine. Bring it. The amount of downloads we'll get will totally make up for it.
I'm producer Tim Young, and I'm the world's most advanced AI.
So, Megan, you're guest starring for Hannah, who is moving today. Fill us in on what's been going on Dorkadia. What have you been up to lately?
Dorkadia, where we are all virtual reality all the time. We have been playing with the Oculus and the new controllers for the Oculus Touch. And as a matter of fact, I was about half an hour late to starring on All Comics Considered tonight because we were just doing a tour of the Seattle Oculus headquarters. So it was very fancy. We are pretty much just kind of going through our list of, every website right now is telling you what to give people for the holidays. And actually, Hannah helped us wrap this podcast a couple weeks ago and continuing to share with all of our listeners what games to give people for the holiday season, which is pretty much, have you checked out any indie games? Because we have a huge list of them. So yeah, pretty much all gaming all the time. And if I can talk to people about more RPGs and more story arcs and pretty much anything written by Christine Love, then yes, absolutely.
That was a really good episode. Like, not helpful for me to buy for my wife, who is not as nerdy as I am, but I really enjoyed it, thinking about all the cool stuff I would like to be able to get people.
As a stand-off moment, I just started a new job, and one of my colleagues got referred to our podcast without me knowing. He had mentioned to somebody that he knows is a nerdy person, mentioned my name. External third-party person recommended our podcast. So at the same time as I'm Skyping to him about things you could gift people, like the Jones Holiday Soda Pack, which I would not. It's very vintage, don't do it. But he had to stop me because apparently at the exact same time as I'm Skyping it to him at work, he's actually hearing it in his ear as me talking on the Dorkadia podcast about the terrible soda. And let me reiterate, don't get them. They're old and they're terrible. You can get people salmon pate soda. Don't do it. Nobody will like it.
You should, however, buy the wine for your cat. Buy wine for yourself and wine for your cat.
My cats will drink out of my own wine. The Dorkadia interns have no qualms.
Well, the All Comics Considered, I don't know, what are our dogs, Tim? Are they interns?
Mascots?
Our mascots. My mascot will, just knock food off my plate and eat it herself because she's a bit of a jerk. Oh, hello, intern. And this week, listeners, we are going to talk about some of our favorite things from 2016. It's the end of the year. You're going to get a little bit of this before we say goodbye to this shit can of a year. But there were some amazing moments in comics in 2016, and that's what we're going to focus on. First up, our biggest surprises of the year 2016. Megan, as our guest, why don't you talk about your biggest surprise of 2016?
My favorite for this year probably has to be within the Star Wars genre. So ever since last year, we had the breakout with Episode 7 and the amazing movies that have been coming on and a lot of great reboots that Lucas and Disney have been doing. I have to say, this series started in 2015, but my favorite in 2016, which just ended in October, is the Darth Vader comic book series. Have either of you been reading any of these?
Oh, yeah.
I read the first few issues of Darth Vader.
I'm all caught up.
It is really good. It is a weird kind of mix of, I mean, obviously good storytelling about Darth Vader, but also the artwork. They've been doing a lot of this kind of not doing a narration, not necessarily doing a voiceover or even sometimes not even in the character's head. It's just letting the art speak for itself, which is really difficult when essentially you're telling a story of space wizards. So sometimes having the art tell the story is difficult. And they do an amazing job. They go through some just rad characters. There's definitely been some like weird, essentially a doctor who likes to perform crazy experiments on people. Definitely some bots who like to commit murder. They're essentially looking at a R2-D2 and a C-3PO, only murder machines instead of good, I want to be politically correct and save the universe kind of characters. They do such a good job, which is a complete turn point from where we saw episodes 1, 2, and 3, which were so. I would say my absolute favorite for 2016 has to be the Darth Vader series for within Star Wars.
I love how you basically just said that the Kieron Gillen droids are basically red pill droids.
Yeah. It's true.
And that is so perfect. Oh my God, it's so good. I loved the Darth Vader book. I think it was the most standout characters came from the Darth Vader book. I'm very excited that Kieron Gillen is continuing to work on this.
Well,
Darth Vader, yeah, he makes when you watch episode 4 and you see Darth Vader walk through the blockade runner and you're like, who is this motherfucking badass? No other property has done anything to make Darth look so cool except for that book. And it's,
I will disagree with you, sir.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you going to bring up which one, Rebels or Clone Wars?
Rebels.
It's got to be Clone Wars.
No, Rebels. Absolutely Rebels. The season 2 ending of the confrontation, I guess, this isn't a spoiler. It's a couple years now from when it happened. But in case if you haven't watched the season 2 ender of Rebels, then just mute for like a minute. The confrontation between Ahsoka Tano and Darth Vader is probably the most heart-wrenching, amazing palpitations I have had. He's flying in on basically I don't know, some sort of drone, and he looks just epic. And then the best is when his mask gets cracked, and so you see part of his face, one of his eyes, and he has that half kind of droidy voice that he's got from his mask, and the other half is Anakin. And he just says Ahsoka's name. I mean, I have never been more excited and terrified of a character in my life. So I think that beats episode 4. But that's only if you're familiar with all of the canon they laid down for that.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
It turns out I have real strong opinions about Star Wars.
Really?
Shocking.
As a longtime listener of Dorkadia, I was aware.
So, really quickly, as far as Star Wars and Vader goes, yeah, the Vader comic to me erased a lot of the kind of the hilarity of episode 3.
So I was visiting. I was visiting family in California a couple of weeks ago, and we turned off the political news because VP-elect Pence was on. And so the only thing that was on TV at the time was a series of episode 1, 2, and 3. So I just sat there and watched episodes 1, 2, and 3. As we got to episode 3, I'm texting Charles, the other host of the Dorkadia podcast, and also, turns out my husband. But I'm texting him, and I sent him a picture of it, and I was like, oh, hey, look, we're about to get to the part where Anakin tells Obi-Wan that he wants his lightsaber to go to his son, also known as, I'm going to chop off your limbs and tell you that, you're awful, you're the worst, and I hate you. And Obi-Wan says, you were the chosen one. But of course, in episode 4, that translates to, your father wanted you to have this.
Hey, listen, 18 years, things can be slimmed down, brightened up a little bit.
Obi's got a real shitty memory, apparently is what that means.
Well, he spent all that time in the desert. He forgot his name.
No?
Forgot a lot of stuff.
Not unless you listen to Rebels.
Or pick up the occasional Obi-Wan interludes written by Jason Aaron in the regular Star Wars comic, which I recommend. Tim, why don't you talk about your favorite book, property, or thing from 2016?
My favorite comic book of 2016, by and far, and again, also a surprise, was Old Man Logan. Because this is a Wolverine that has completely ran out of fucks to give. And he just doesn't have the capacity in it for him to care about, being gentle with, bad guys, with villains. And all this time, because of his lack of fucks and because his power level is lower, and he's more desperate, we see Logan just fucking up bad guys without any remorse. And the funny thing about it is that you go, oh, wait a minute. All this time, 35-year-old looking Logan could have done much more than he's ever done. He's always been holding back. Like, severely holding back because of superhero reasons. And Old Man Logan doesn't give a shit about that. So every issue is a more brutal, Tarantino-esque issue, and you're constantly surprised that these big problems for the X-Men in the past weren't really problems. The problems were trying to keep them alive, because when your power is to kill people with knives coming out of your hands, it turns out it's really hard to keep people alive.
I kind of feel like this Logan has one fuck to give. He's very much he's got one fuck, he can only give it once, and then it's gone.
It cycles around, right? The person that he likes, he gives them if Storm's around, he gives her the fuck.
Right. Oh,
Possibly literally. I'm not sure yet.
Oh yeah. That'll be on Dorkadia After Dark. So we've had 14 issues of Old Man Logan. Of 14 issues, 13 of them have been just each one better than the last. Only issue 14 was meh. I don't understand how that's even possible, that you get 13 solid books with no dip in quality, and the art is just, Andre Sorrentino, just so good. His artwork is the best part of Civil War 7, bar none. Best part of that not so good book. I'm so glad that I'm just going to roll right into mine, unless you guys care, just because we're talking about the same writer. My biggest thing from 2016, my favorite from 2016, has been Jeff Lemire, who's the writer of Old Man Logan, who is writing Bloodshot books. He's writing Extraordinary X-Men, Old Man Logan, Descender, and now with Scott Snyder, After Death, which I also wholeheartedly recommend. I discovered him this year. I read parts of Animal Man from him this year. Jeff Lemire is writing books, everything from Old Man Logan, who gives no fucks, to Extraordinary X-Men, which ends with some of the most heroic stuff of all time when Storm says to everybody, the X-Men are here for human, mutant, and inhuman, and we're not going anywhere. He hits, and then he turns around and writes like, Bloodshot, who is one part Punisher, one part Wolverine, no parts good guy. He's just prolific in the writing, and he's drawing in After Death too. It's just such a great book, guys. Like, Jeff Lemire has been my biggest, the thing I've been most excited about in 2016. He's just writing so much cool shit. Even his parts of the Death of X book have been really, really good. So, I cannot say enough good stuff about Jeff Lemire. So check out his work. I've talked about him frequently on the show, and talking about 2016, given this is the year of Jeff for me. So
the worst year.
Just pick,
Lemire's year's the worst year. How do you feel about that, Jeff Lemire? You'll never hear this, but how do you feel about that? He
is the very high mountaintop of the shit valley that has been 2016. I've read one meh book by him.
All right. Hold on. Really quick segue from each one of you. Name one thing that was good about 2016. Just real quick, just to make it a little lighter.
I'm looking around. One good thing from 2016? Oh, yes, I can say this. The program that I helped create, that I have been employed doing, will not be canceled in 2016 or 2017. So here's for small changes in juvenile justice that I can say I helped make. What about you, Tim?
As far as so what happened in 2016 that was positive for me, and there was a lot of shit, by the way, was that the wife and I moved to Tacoma and bought a house for $250,000, which would buy you a shovel and a hole in Seattle, with which you can dig a further, bigger hole and live in it. So homeless in Seattle and living bougie in Tacoma.
And living totally working class in the city of Chicago. I love that those three parallels. So we're going to move on to talking about our biggest surprises of 2016. And, well, Tim, why don't you talk about your biggest surprise of 2016?
Sure. I got a couple things. I'll be quick. My biggest surprise of 2016, and I've mentioned it on the podcast a couple of times, but I want to reiterate it because I want you guys to read it, is none other than Carnage, the shitty 90s property that was just about excess and stupidity. And they've redone the whole thing, right? So Carnage, the comic in 2016, is a police procedural combined with a horror novel, in a little dash of Cthulhu thrown in for good measure. And that's just amazingly surprising. I had no idea it was going to be this good, and it's super good. They bring back J. Jonah Jameson's son, the Man Wolf, of all things.
Yeah.
And it's just tight writing. It's scary, and it's tense, and super effective. So read that. And then everyone's favorite book of 2016 that no one expected to go in this direction. Again, sort of a weird, creepy take on the Vision, which I'm going through it via Marvel Unlimited. So I just got to, I don't want to do spoilers. I just got to an issue where things go really, really wrong in the Vision's family, and you really can't say much without giving away spoilers, but. It's an eerie, it's a creepy, it's a messed up book, and I have no idea how Vision retains his superhero identity afterwards. I don't know how that works. So
well,
don't spoil it. But if you haven't read that book, fire up the tablet, get it at Marvel Unlimited, go get the flops. It's absolutely worthwhile. And then a surprise sleeper, it's not from 2016, but I did read it in 2016, was the Heroic Age arc of the Avengers. And the comics are fine, but what's really, really cool is in the back pages where they do sort of simulated Avengers interviews. So Bendis takes on the voice of the Avengers, not in battle, just talking about everyday life, and how things were sort of behind the scenes, right? Pick back of the curtain, where they talk about how screwed things are, how screwed up things are after the heroics. And if you haven't read that, it's a really fun romp. So go for that.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. Like, it's on my list of things to get to. Yeah, Vision, get it. Carnage is, I totally agree with every single one of your picks except for the Avengers Heroic Age, just because I haven't read it yet, but I'm going to read it because you told me to.
Right. And again, the comic part, pretty good fare. I mean, it's sort of standard heroism, right? It's okay. It's good stuff. It's that stuff right behind you. You're like, oh, what the fuck's this? What is this intriguing bullshit here? Bendis, what are you doing? That's weird.
I mean, that is what Bendis says he loves to write, and I want to read more of that. Like, it's like Kieron Gillen's interview issue of Wicked and Divine, which
but
the whole team
let me
got together
be
to do
clear
that.
about this. There's no art.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, okay.
No, it's just script. It's just him writing out Avengers talking.
This reminds me a lot of Just the Tips
down.
from Sex Criminals.
Oh, God, that book. That book is so fun. Just really quickly, no one has picked up Chip Zdarsky and Chris Anka's Star-Lord.
Not
have
yet.
they? Because Chip is writing it and Chris Anka is drawing it, and there's another guest appearance by Daredevil. Like, I don't know what's going on with this, but this is the second time where Chip Zdarsky is using Daredevil, and I'm like, I've got to go see this. And everybody knows I'm a big fan of Chip just because he gave me a hug, and I really appreciate him.
Daredevil in space.
Wait, is giving you a hug all that it takes
they're grounded.
to like kind of bribe you?
I'm pretty low. I am the worst Chicago kind of law enforcement in the sense that, like, I'm so easy to bribe. Like, please, thank you, and hugs. Okay.
Marty,
will you not send my
need to
kid to
come
jail?
Seattle.
No, I'm sorry. He needs to go to jail. I'm going at some point in time.
I retained my position on the show because I sent him a mug.
Well, I did send him Daredevil poop, so.
Yes. The mug was used today, and I got many, many, many compliments with it because it says meh. And the Daredevil poop, you can't see it, but it's over there on top of all my graphic novels. So getting Daredevil poop in the mail is a surprise, and not the biggest surprise of 2016.
I hope I made it not 5.
Oh, you're number 2. 3. Number 2 or 3. Because you told me you were sending me something, it wasn't bad, so I'm like, yeah, it was perfect.
I can't imagine. Was it just like a bunch of hot tamales?
No, it is a coil of poop. Daredevil's head on top of it.
Clay poop, not actual.
Clay.
I didn't like
Clay
fit
poop,
in a
not real
jar.
poop. Not like... Yeah.
You didn't like tackle the first redheaded lawyer you found?
Or the
Poop in this jar.
Here, are you... Poop in this jar. Oh, okay.
Dorkadia After Dark.
Pay your
It's just
hourly-
scripted itself.
I'll pay you your hourly rate to poop in this jar. Come on.
That's the German episode of Dorkadia After Dark. We're not going there. No, but the biggest comic surprise for me of 2016, in the sense of just how poignant I think the second arc, actually the third arc has been, is Powerman and Iron Fist. David Walker is one of my new favorites. He has been doing bang-up work with Sanford Green and Low Ridge. They've been just putting out really super stylized, clever, well-written stories. I know some people are tired of the fiddle-faddle, but I got a big kick out of the evolution of these characters, and also how David Walker's saying, like, yeah, he's putting these characters through the ringer, and so there's going to be some adjustments to what we're used to. Before the show, Tim and I were talking about it, and it's a huge departure from previous Iron Man books. especially one of our mutual favorites, the Ultimate Iron Fist collection by Brubaker and Fraction, and who else was on that book? Hickman and Aya, definitely. Anyway, just an amazing collection. But this team-up book is doing a lot of cool stuff within the Marvel Universe that's putting the Heroes for Hire back to a post-event in a world where heroes do more fighting and damage than villains do. The Heroes for Hire are now coming up to a point where they're recognizing their role and their responsibilities in the community and what that actually entails. And the last issue, that I read, which is issue 10, reintroduces a character that he's been dead before. I think he's currently supposed to be dead, but it's a really interesting addition. It's also, let's be honest. It's, David Walker's a black man writing about a bulletproof black man and his, white kung fu sidekick, which, okay, but still, it's a good, solid book. I highly recommend it. It's not as amazing as Nighthawk was, and Nighthawk was gone too soon, but Nighthawk was phenomenal. But I'm super surprised at how much I really love Powerman and Ironfist, and David Walker is just killing it on these books. So, questions, comments, vague misgivings?
No, that's a solid choice. I
was just trying to figure out who the resurrected bad guy was.
It's a spoiler. I can't tell you.
As far as who did the Immortal Iron Fist, that was Dwayne. I don't know if you said this. Dwayne Swarzinski.
Oh, really?
That was the writer. Yeah.
Oh,
So a marked departure from that Immortal Iron Fist series to this version of Danny Rand, Goofy Danny Rand.
It's interesting. I thought we were talking about the Immortal Iron Fist collection by Brubaker, Fraction, Aya, and all them, where that was right before. I'll show you on Marvel Unlimited. It's totally worthwhile. Yeah. So that's it, guys. That's our biggest surprises and our favorite comics of 2016. We're going to do a little bit more digging into 2016 before we finally kick it into the incinerator. But before we go, Megan, thank you for coming onto our shows. Where can we find you on the internet?
Thank you for having me. It was lovely. It's nice to talk about more than just video games. You can find me at dorkadia.com, and I am at Megan is Rad on Twitter.
Do not, if you at her at Dorkadia After Dark, that's actually not her.
It turns out that's just Marty. Don't do that.
Yes, it is. Yeah. If you want to talk to me at Dorkadia After Dark, I'm more than willing to take all of your submissions. This has been episode 68 of All Comics Considered. Thanks everybody for listening. Recording the show in 2016 has been one of the few constant levels of awesome in an otherwise not so great year. Thank you to Steve, our amazing sound engineer who works so hard and sings so well. He just makes us sound amazing. If you like what you've heard and you want to do us a holiday miracle, leave us a review on iTunes or on Stitcher or on Google Music. You can always find us on Facebook and on Tumblr at All Comics Considered. And you can also find us on Twitter at All Comics Cast. Your ratings, reviews, likes, shares, reblogs, and follows help us bring the conversation out to more phenomenal people so we can all talk about comics. Your hosts have been me, Marty. You can find me on Twitter at Officer Gleason and on Tumblr at One Pretentious Bastard.
I'm producer Tim. You can find me at Tim Considers on Twitter, and you get to hear me yelling at you at raceinvaders.org.
And Megan, one last time, where can we find you on the internet?
Again, I am at dorkadia.com and at Dorkadia on most social medias, along with Hannah and a few other cast members that we will talk to you because we're a bunch of nerds with opinions. And otherwise, I'm at Megan is Rad on Twitter.
Okay. Thanks for listening, everybody. And until next time, Action Heroes, don't be afraid of no ghosts.